March, where the madness on the court takes over. And there's no one better than PJ Glasser and Ben Stevens to guide you through bracket season. This is Game Day Garage, the Quad.
Welcome in, PJ Glasser, Ryan Horvat joining me for this Sweet 16 preview. We're going to run through all 8 games, the 4 we have on Thursday, the 4 we have on Friday. Just a tremendous Sweet 16 slate, as good as I can remember in a while. We'll give out all of our favorite plays. We'll, of course, recap the round of 32, our impressions so far of the tournament. It'll be about 45 minutes to an hour. So if you guys are hanging out, watching, you want to tune in, any questions, any bets that you have, please hit us up in the chat. This is the Quad presented by GameDay Garage. Horvat, been a while, buddy. How are you? How's everything?
Doing pretty good, man. It was, for the most part, a really good. All right, so first 2 rounds starts off pretty good for me. Had a good Friday, decent Thursday, good Friday, really good Saturday, great start to Sunday. But then all hell broke loose for me because Survivor Pool. Told myself I wasn't going to do it this year because entered a couple brackets, bet way too many games. So I was like, I'm going to stay away from the Survivor Pool. I've never won one of these. My heart's still broken from the NFL Survivor Pool that I joined. Our good buddy Joe Ostrowski. I had one of the rare wins for Tennessee. I had Arizona in that game that they completely fell apart and got beat by Tennessee. So I was still heartbroken over that. I said, no more Survivor until NFL football season, but I joined last minute, and I didn't like this Florida team. I especially didn't like them, Peach, because down the stretch they couldn't lose and they couldn't stop covering, and I was like, they're not going to repeat. I don't like this roster as much as I did last year, so I was like, here's my only chance to use them. I don't really love anything on Sunday. I'm going to take Florida, and the funny part about it, man, is I feel like an ass because my son filled out his bracket and he's Midwest all the way, man. So he's got Iowa, Nebraska, and which is fine with me. You know, I would have allowed that, but he's got Iowa going to the national championship game. And I was like, you know what, man, if you win, I'll keep track of yours. I'm not going to waste $25 on this, but if you win, I'll give you some money. He's looking pretty good, man, because in Survivor, I take Florida. Iowa pulls off that upset. Everybody was complaining there's no Cinderella. Well, boom, there goes the defending champs. So that stunk. But what stunk even more than losing the $50 Survivor Pool was one of my favorite bets, even though it was a really good weekend and I won some money, gave some of it back because I love Texas Tech against your boys, man. I didn't trust Bama. I am a Nate Oates guy, especially because I found out he's a Green Bay Packer fan. But, that game was never a game. In fact, I didn't even tune in for the second half because it was already over. So for the most part, dude, a really enjoyable weekend as it usually is. I like not having to be on the air and able to sit on the couch, go to a bar, watch all the games and not have to broadcast during them. But yeah, man, Tech burned me, and then being knocked out of Survivor absolutely sucks.
It absolutely does. I took Texas Tech against Alabama in Survivor as well because, you know, that's what happens now that the tournament, it looks like, has become a little chalky the first 2 days. It's making Survivor a little bit tougher because, like, on Saturday, you had Arkansas going up against High Point. That was an easy pick. But then on Sunday, it was a lot tougher with figuring out who the team was. So I thought the winner of Bama and Texas Tech was going to lose to Michigan, and I felt really good about Tech in that game. But like you said, it was all Bama from start to finish. That was pretty surprising. A lot has been made about kind of the new era, I guess, that we're in with March Madness in the tournament. Not as many upsets, right? No more Cinderella mid-majors, and a lot of people are complaining about it, right? I don't know about you. I kind of love this new version of the tournament where, you know, I think we're going to get upsets like every now and then. I don't think it's going to be as much chaos as we've gotten in the last like 7, 8, 10 years. But again, like, you look at this Sweet 16 slate that we have, and we're going to get into all 8 games. How can you not be excited about all these matchups? Like, Texas and Purdue is really the only game that I think most people look at. And it's like, I mean, Texas is hot. Like, they could beat Purdue because it's Matt Painter in March and none of us would be shocked. But I mean, all these other games like Iowa, Nebraska is going to be awesome. Illinois, Houston is a Final Four caliber type game. Acuff in Arkansas against Zona. The games in DC with Duke and St. John's, UConn, Michigan State. I mean, just about all these matchups are going to be really, really good. So I kind of love it where, yeah, it was great to see High Point beat Wisconsin. That was a terrific game. It was great to see Siena give Duke a heart attack for the first 30 minutes of that game. But, to see some of these higher seeds move on and to see some of these matchups we get in the Sweet 16, like if you're a fan of the tournament, if you're a fan of good basketball, I don't know how you can't be thrilled with this.
And I'm a fan of the Big Ten, obviously being from the Chicagoland area and, doing radio in Wisconsin. And what's funny, man, is how about the Big Ten, 11-5 against the spread in this year's tournament?
Yeah.
All these teams that are still alive. And then there's Wisconsin. So if you're a Badger fan, you're kind of like doing the Homer Simpson meme right now and hiding because everybody's hyping up the Big Ten and you couldn't get past High Point. But I mean, that's a great point. Here's what I don't understand. I mean, like a Cinderella every once in a while is a great story, right? Like watching Virginia lose to the 16 seed.
Yeah.
And, then
Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City.
We get it again with Purdue.
Yeah.
It's great every once in a while, and parity's fun in college basketball. But at the end of the day, man, you want the best teams playing in the Sweet 16, in the Elite Eight, in the Final Four. You want the best matchups because, like a Florida Gulf might be fun until they get to the Final Four. And then imagine them against this Duke team or this Arizona team.
Right.
So it's just how it always goes, and we did have some really good moments. We got the upset also with Iowa, obviously taking out the defending champs in Florida. In college basketball, it's all about coaching, man. The coaches. And look at this weekend. Like you said, I wish I could go to the game. If we're talking $500, $600 row, in the 100s or on the floor, I would look at the prices. But like, I immediately went after Duke advanced and I was like, I might have to go this weekend here in DC. $500, $555 I'm looking at right now in the nosebleed. So unless I get a hookup, I'm probably going to be watching these games at home. But look at these coaching matchups, man. We get Pitino against Shire. We get Tom Izzo against Hurley. I think Hurley's the best coach in college basketball, but Izzo might be the best coach in tournament history. So I can't wait to watch these games coming up this weekend, man. And I think it's been an excellent tournament. I think a lot of people that are complaining, you have like the betting crew that just takes all the dogs. I'm going to take these 15-1, 20-1 dogs that I haven't watched all season long, but I like seeing the good teams advance. So I've been a fan of this year's tournament.
I have too. I can't wait for these games. Let's dive into them. Let's start with Thursday. Texas and Purdue will kick things off in the West region out there in San Jose. Purdue, I mean, they're anywhere from a 6.5 point favorite to a 7.5 point favorite. So obviously you like Purdue, grab the 6.5. You like Texas, take the 7.5. I have already bet 3 games, Ryan, in the Sweet 16 slate. I'm sure I'll have a piece in just about every game. I have not bet this one, though. I know you have. So what do you like in Purdue, Texas?
Texas has been a great story, man. What a run, obviously, right? Another team that pulls off an upset to get here to the Sweet 16. And, coming into the year, I was looking to fade Purdue. Not like game by game, but I just thought their prices were a little off, right? Like they were the number 1 overall team. They were the overwhelming favorite to win the Big Ten. And I kept saying the Big Ten this year, there's going to be so much parity. You got Fears coming back, veteran point guard for Michigan State. I really like this Illinois team. Like I didn't want to admit it because I feel like a lot of people like this Illinois team, but man, I love these Eastern European guys that could shoot the rock. They have length. Don't really trust Underwood when we get to the tournament, but this team's so talented. They might keep making this run. But now, man, I've kind of fallen in love with Purdue here down the stretch, and I don't think they're getting the proper respect. I bet them. This was the first game that I bet. I got 7.5, minus 110. Grabbed it at FanDuel immediately. I just think that their vets step up here. Kaufman, Wren. You got Braden Smith, obviously. I like Purdue in this spot. I feel like Texas, the wheels finally fall off. Watch, I say this, and they're probably going to pull off another upset and go to the Elite Eight. I just think Purdue's the more talented team. Right before the tournament, I bet them 10-1. I even talked about this on my NFL podcast because I was so excited. 10-1 just to make a run to the championship game. I got a bunch of Duke futures. I kind of like this path for Purdue. I know everybody's talking about Arizona. I feel like they're kind of sleeping on this team, so I like them to win this game by at least 9 to 10 points, hopefully.
It's a tricky game. I mean, you made a good case for Purdue. I don't know how you can't not like this team. I mean, they won the Big Ten tournament. They got all those seniors. They got all those minutes. They were the preseason #1 team in the country. Their offense is one of the best in college basketball. Texas, there was something about them, though, and it's funny. I took a flyer on them to win the SEC tournament at 100-1, and now I wish I took a flyer on them to make the Final Four because I just always liked their trio of the big man Volkatitis, Traymon Mark, and the point guard Jordan Pope. Swain's been playing really good for them as well. And Texas all year, they've had the ability against really good offensive teams to play them really tough. Like you go back and look, they won at Tuscaloosa against Alabama. They beat Georgia. Arkansas was really the only great offensive team in the SEC that kind of smoked them, but they were able to beat Texas A&M. So this is kind of how Texas wants to live, you know, like against good offensive teams. This is normally what brings out the best in them. I want to see if this line goes up anymore. I want to see if we can get Texas at like an 8 or 8.5. I think if we do, I might be on the Longhorns. So I lean a little bit towards Texas in the game, but nothing officially for me.
I saw a video pop up today talking about fading Matt Painter, right? Like you look at he's 23-7, I believe, against the spread in the round of 64, only 5-7 against the number in the Sweet 16 or later.
Yep.
But if you go back, man, what is it? 2024, Purdue is a favorite, 9-0 ATS, covering the number by more than 6 points, 7.1 actually to be exact. So I think Painter's a really good coach. That narrative, that knock that he's this choke artist. I mean, they had to run to the championship, obviously. I like Purdue, but again, not the biggest bet, not as much as I like Tech last weekend, but that didn't really work out for me. So Purdue for me here. Nothing with the total, though. I'm staying away.
Staying away from the total too. Painter is a weird one because it's like if he doesn't get upset in the first round, he normally just covers, you know? But
Right.
We all remember the big upsets. But like you said, he's actually been pretty good ATS. All right, the next game on Thursday, I mean, this is going to be awesome. Nebraska and Iowa in basketball, trip to the Elite Eight on the line. This opened like 2.5, 3. Iowa's taking some money. It is 1.5 across the board. So close to a coin toss there. You know that Nebraska fan base is going to travel. You would expect Iowa to travel as well. That should be an electric environment for that game. These two teams played twice in the regular season. They split each meeting. I would think this game comes right down to the wire. Nebraska money line would be my lean. I think I would probably go with them to win it. But I really think this is just a perfect live betting game because I don't see either team blowing out the other. I think the under 133.5 is probably the play too. I think it's a low possession, low scoring game. Might be like a 1st to 60 kind of game. So I think if you can get one of these teams like 7.5, 8.5 live bet, that's probably the way I would attack it. But if you're asking me what I would bet pregame, I would look probably Nebraska money line.
Another really great coaching matchup, man. Kind of flying under the radar. I could see Iowa winning this game outright. I really could. I could see my son winning this bracket because he has Iowa in the championship game, and then I'm going to look like a big jerk. But I'm going to probably, like you said, I'm going to look for a live number here, but it's the Sweet 16, and most likely I'll have a little action on every game because there's not a whole lot else going on right now. I'm done with the NBA forever after betting the Heat last night. Baseball, I'm excited to watch the Cubs, but I don't bet a whole lot the first couple weeks of the season. So small bet most likely on this Nebraska team, man. I've fallen in love, and it's hard for me to say that and admit that, Peach, because I did not want Tom Thibodeau to be fired from the Chicago Bulls. I did not want Hoiberg. It's funny. He wins everywhere except for in Chicago. How about that adjustment? What was it? Like the final 2 minutes of the game, switching to zone. Mm-hmm. I like his kid. I like this Purdue team. I'm sorry. I like this Nebraska team, and I trust Hoiberg in March. 34-20-2 against the spread. Like I said, guy wins everywhere except for Chicago. I like Nebraska to end this run for Iowa, but I'll be looking for a good live number. Like you said, 6.5, 7 with either team in a game like this. I do think it comes down to the wire, but probably Nebraska money line at a good price for me.
Yep, love it. That should be a fun one on Thursday. And then the nightcaps that we get on Thursday, Arizona, Arkansas, Illinois, and Houston. We'll start with the Wildcats and the Razorbacks. This opened actually Arizona 9.5. Arkansas immediately got hit. I took him at 8.5. Now there are some 7.5s that are out there. I know Arkansas is going to be a popular dog. I really don't care. This was always the game, Horvat. I was someone that picked Arizona to win the whole thing on my bracket. They're my national champion. This was the game that scared me when I saw this potential Sweet 16 matchup, because Calipari in his career in the tournament as an underdog of 4 or more points is 7-1 against the spread. He is terrific as a big dog, which makes sense because his teams are always littered with NBA talent, and he's not usually an underdog. So when you get him by a dog of multiple possessions, his teams normally play well. He's going to have the best player on the floor in Acuff. He's the closest thing that we have in this tournament to Walter Clayton. And I think people saw a little bit of that in the High Point game where it's close. They just give the ball to number 5. He takes over and wills him to the finish line. And Arizona, let's be honest with ourselves. I think most people would agree they might be the best team in the country, certainly one of the top 2 or 3. But how can you not be a little bit concerned with what you saw against Utah State? It just kind of feels like it's the same Tommy Lloyd Arizona story. He's never been past the Sweet 16. He's never been to Elite 8. He's never been to the Final Four. This is usually the game that trips him up. You give Calipari a week to prep. You give him, as an 8.5-point dog with Acuff and those NBA players, man. Look, maybe Arizona just shows up. I've seen a lot of people give out their team total over, which I think that could be a good look, because how is Arkansas going to get stops against Arizona? But I just think this is too many points. I bet Arkansas 8.5. I think Arizona probably wins, man, but I think it's close. So I took the Hogs plus the points.
I was planning on using Arizona in Survivor this weekend. I'm not a big, minus 250 or above better, except for when it comes down to draft season, NFL draft. I will, if anybody wants to give me an appropriate amount of money, I'll bet Fernando Mendoza to go number 1 overall right now, because it's going to happen. I like Arizona in this game. I lean them covering only. The problem is, you said it, man, Cal, all he does is cover. And I believe this is the biggest number we've ever seen. They were 7.5-point dogs when he was at UMass back in 1996. He's always really good as an underdog. Tommy Lloyd, really good in the first 2 rounds, 8-1 straight up, but then 0-3 so far in the Sweet 16. I'm not in love with this Arizona team like everybody else, but I do think that they win and cover against Arkansas. Not a big bet. I think they win. I wish I could use them in Survivor. Maybe they're good for a money line price or a piece. If you're going to do a parlay, you want to throw them in there with Duke or somebody. But yeah, I do want to see where this number closes, man, because I was kind of surprised to see it so high. I like Arizona to win, but you know what? I'm probably going to end up betting Arizona, Paige. I'm probably going to be going against you here.
Fair enough. Again, Arizona's going to be a trendy dog. It is a big number. I think a lot of people will be betting the money line. Wouldn't surprise me if Arizona covers and blows them out. With Cal's track record, I got to take Arkansas plus the points. This is one of my favorite bets of the Sweet 16. I really like Illinois plus 3.5. I did not think we would get this over 3. I thought it would stay pretty firm at 2.5, but now we're getting over the full possession. I just think it's too many. You look at Ken Palm, Horvat, these teams are separated by a point. So on a neutral, it really should be Houston -1, -1.5. And I think we're overinflating the Cougars a little bit, because this game is being played in Houston. It's being played at the Toyota Center, the home of the Rockets. But you look at so far in March Madness, the home court advantage that these teams have had. Missouri played in St. Louis. They lost to Miami. Florida played in Tampa. They lost to Iowa. So, yeah, is it going to be a predominantly Houston crowd? Absolutely. I don't feel like that should bump up Houston to 3.5 and over the possession. I think Illinois' offense, with the way that they offensive rebound, how they spread you out, is a bad mismatch for Houston, and their trapping defense. Mirkovic is the perfect big to have against a Houston defense that wants to trap. I think Wagler has a good game. It's going to be awesome. This is a Final Four caliber game. It's going to be terrific basketball. But I was already going to be at Illinois at 2.5. Once it jumped to 3.5, I was like, I got to bet this. So I like the Illini plus the points.
Yep, I got some Illini Final Four futures. I really like this team. Like you said, Wagler could go off for 20. Really, Stojakovic could go off for 20. That's what I like about this Illini team. They could rebound the basketball. They play enough defense. They could score, though. I don't like betting against Houston teams come March Also, I don't like having anything on Houston. Like last year, took them in the championship game, had some futures, and they pissed it away with like 2 or 3 minutes left on the clock in that game. They're really good defensively, but like you said, Illinois could spread them out, man. And as long as they're knocking down shots, I think they're live in this game. I think they could win this game. So I like Illinois, especially at 3.5, even if it's juiced. Illinois for me here, even with Houston playing this game at home.
Yeah, love it. All right, over to Friday's slate where we have 4 really fantastic games. The East Regional in DC is going to be unbelievable. Duke and St. John's will kick things off 7:10 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Duke is a 6.5-point favorite across the board. I think St. John's is going to be as popular as Arkansas. Plus the points, money line, everybody's going to be on St. John's because it's Duke, because they've looked vulnerable, because it's Pitino. You're getting this many points. They had the game winner against Kansas. Because of that press and the way that they can turn you over, and Duke doesn't have their starting point guard and Caleb Foster, like, I get it. I get why St. John's is appealing. I don't know, feels kind of like a trap to me. Like it feels like just a little trappy, a little fishy. I don't know if I can ultimately get there with Duke. I think I'll probably put them in a money line parlay, and parlay them with somewhere else on the board, maybe like Arizona, Duke, Michigan money line parlay, something like that, because I do think all the 1 seeds end up winning. But yeah, this is a tough game to handicap, Horvat. I almost maybe want to go with like a St. John's team total under, because I think everybody's going to be so focused on St. John's defense and the problems that they can give Duke, but they're not focusing on how Duke's defense can really give St. John's issues, a team that really doesn't shoot the 3-point jumper all that well. As cliche as it is, that's what this game is going to come down to. St. John's, who throughout the season has not been a good 3-point shooting team, can they uncharacteristically make a lot of threes? Because that's what they have to do in this game if they want to beat Duke. It's a pass for me. Again, Duke in a money line parlay would probably be my look. But what are your thoughts?
I like Duke here. Yeah, maybe like a money line parlay. I should throw them in there with Arizona and see who blows it for me. I've considered just laying it with Duke here. I mean, I know it's Pitino, man, and it does concern me, like you said. You're without your starting point guard. This is a team that's going to get up on you. They're going to force turnovers. And Pitino's 6-2 against the number as an underdog of 5 or more points. You're giving me 2 possessions, but I love this Duke team. I got Duke futures. I got them winning the championship, both in my pool and in your pool. 1 sheet always. And I don't want to bet against Cameron Boozer, man. Guy's an absolute stud, walking double-double. I don't want to bet against either Boozer. I don't want to bet against Carlos Boozer sitting there in row 102. I like Duke here. I can't bet against them. But, man, the number's tempting. Like, if Duke gets off to a fast start here and we could get a really good number with St. John's, I might buy in. But I like Duke.
If you parlayed all the 1 seeds, Ryan, for Sweet 16, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, you get plus 105. So if you're somebody that does like all the 1 seeds, you don't want to lay the points, you can take them on the money line and get plus money. I'm glad you brought up St. John's and Duke, like if Duke starts fast, because that is what St. John's has been doing ever since the Big East tournament. Is they've been getting out to like a 9-0 lead, 10-0 lead. So if you don't maybe initially want to bet it to start, if St. John's gets off to a 10-0 lead, they might even be favored in the game, or Duke's going to be close to a pick 'em plus money. So that's a good call. Maybe you just do wait. You hope the Johnnies get off to a fast start. You can get Duke at a cheap money line price and look to buy back. Certainly another way to bet the game. Next up, we got Michigan and Alabama. Michigan anywhere from a 9.5 to a 10.5 point favorite. Total in this game is dropped. It was 176.5. Now it is at 174.5. Any Alabama game, you're always going to have a high total. Michigan plays at a top 25 pace. So there's going to be a furious pace to this one. You know, Bama's going to jack a lot of threes. Michigan has been shooting the ball great from downtown so far in the tournament. Any plays for you in this game?
With the total being so high, 174.5 as I look at it right now, I wouldn't bet the under. I'm not going to run out and bet the over in this game. I haven't touched the total. But I understand the small little move there with Bama, who opens as a 10.5 point dog. They're down to 9.5. Even if they're a trendy dog, they were trendy against Texas Tech. I was on Tech, and this team's kind of playing with house money. I do like Nate Oates. He's a covering machine in these high total type games. I believe he's 9-3 or something like that in the tournament. So I'm going to grab the points here with Bama and cheer for your boys against Michigan here. I think they're going to keep this game close. I think Michigan wins, man, but I can see this being a closer game, especially, like I said, with that total being that high. We're going to get a good pace here. Give me the Tide.
Okay. As a fan, I hope you're right. I laid it with Michigan. I think this is a terrible matchup for Alabama. They have really struggled this year, Ryan, with teams that are great on the glass, great rebounding teams. I went back and looked. The top 18 rebounding teams in college basketball, Bama went 2-6 against those teams this year, straight up and against the spread. They struggle with teams that have size. And now you're dealing with arguably the best front court in the country with Mara and Lendenborg and Merez Johnson. I think it's a brutal matchup. And Michigan, their perimeter defense, I think, is really going to give Bama some fits. You bring up the total. I actually think maybe an under could be worth a look because Bama's defense has been really good the first 2 games of the tournament. And I think it's been because of Holloway and him getting suspended for the weed. The fact that he's not out there and he's such a liability because he's a smaller guard, Oates is forced to play some of his lengthier, taller guards with Phylon out there, and it's made their defense so much better. So I think without Holloway, Bama's defense is actually going to have a better chance to stop Michigan that they would. And on the flip side, I think Michigan's going to do a better job on Alabama. You brought up how good Oates has been ATS in the tournament. It's really only in the round of 32 and when he faces a mid-major in the round of 64. Like me and my boys talk about it all the time. Nate Oates is unbelievably great against mid-majors in the regular season or in the tournament because his style of play is so hard for these schools to match with the pace and the threes and the athleticism and all that. And that's why you saw them down by 10 in the first half to Hofstra, able to make a big run and cover with these. And then in the round of 32, Ryan, since he's been in Tuscaloosa, he's 5-0 and he's won by an average margin of 18 points. So it's tough for teams on that quick turnaround to face Bama. The Sweet 16 giving Dusty May and his staff all that time to prepare. I think it's going to do Michigan good. So I think they win by double digits. I think they cover, but certainly as a fan, I'll be hoping that you're right and Bama can keep that game close. And then the 2 games we have at night on Friday, UConn and Michigan State. I've seen a lot of people talk about how this is the ultimate stay away game. They want nothing to do with this. UConn, a slight 1.5-point favorite, total 135.5. Any plays for you?
I saw a tweet. I don't want to steal it. I saw somebody tweet out, I lost money just looking at this. And it was just the spread and the total. Yeah. Dude, exactly, man, because I lean under. But if I bet the under in this game, these teams are going to shoot 65% from the floor apiece.
Sure.
I've been betting against Michigan State a lot this year, even though big fan of Fears, love Tom Izzo. I wasn't in love with this team. And I do really like UConn. I love Hurley. I know he's an ass, but I think he's the best coach in all of college basketball. They don't have the most talented team, although Caravan's still there. You got Ball, you got Reed. If I had to bet the game, I'm staying away. This is probably a good live betting spot, right? If either team goes down. If I had to bet the game, gun to my head, I would take UConn, though. What about you? I think they're the better basketball team.
I think they're better, and I agree. I think their coach is better. And it's no Izzo's a Hall of Famer. He's an all-timer. Right. Like, it's no disrespect, but I agree. I think Hurley and Pitino are 1-2 in the country. The guy's, 15-1 against the spread in his last 16 tournament games, and you're basically getting him to win. Like, how can you pass that up? Izzo, he just does an unbelievable job this time of year getting the absolute most out of his team. But the last few years, Michigan State just hasn't been as great as they were in years past, and they haven't had the offensive firepower that they have in years past. I think that hurts them in a game like this. So I do like UConn. I like them to win the game. It's just going to be a great environment in DC because all of these fan bases are going to travel. You and I both know, living in this area, there's a ton of Michigan State alum. There's going to be a ton of Duke fans there because it's drivable. St. John's fans, UConn fans, they'll take the train down to DC. Like, it's going to be such a good environment for both of these games. And the coaching matchups are terrific. But for me, ultimately, Ryan, that's what it is. Like, could I see Michigan State winning this game? Absolutely. If you're giving me Hurley at a pick'em, or at like a short money, I got to take that, So I'm with you. I like UConn in the game also.
Yep, UConn for me. I'm going to end up most likely betting UConn. And then the next one, I said earlier, I think Purdue's probably my favorite bet this weekend. Not a huge bet, but I forgot about this one. I bet this one immediately. I like the dog here.
Love that. All right, and then the final Sweet 16 matchup that we had, which, again, because there are so many great other games, not a lot of people are talking about this one, but you have two of the best defensive teams in the country. Hopefully Joshua Jefferson plays for Iowa State. I think right now they're listing him as questionable. For me, Ryan, I haven't bet it yet. I think I'm leaning towards Iowa State because doesn't it strike you the fact that this game is priced exactly the same as the Kentucky game was? And again, maybe they're expecting Jefferson to play. I think Tennessee is way better than Kentucky is. And being such a good defensive team, having a great point guard in Jacoby Gillespie, and the fact that Nate Ament is going to have a week to have that ankle get even better and better. I was watching Ament closely in the first 2 games of the tournament. Didn't even score 1 point against Miami of Ohio. Wasn't even really looking to score. And then against Virginia, he really wasn't looking to score either, except for the first 10 minutes of the second half when he scored like 11 points. So Ament still isn't quite right. He hasn't been aggressive. And I think going against Iowa State, like the Kentucky game, it felt like was the game for Iowa State to go down. The short turnaround, Jefferson being hurt, they were 0 for 12 from 3 in their first, and they were still winning at halftime. So if that's going to be Iowa State's bad shooting game and they're still able to overcome it, and Tennessee is due for a bad shooting game in this tournament as well, I think I'm going to end up probably betting Iowa State in this game. The reason I haven't done it is I want to see if Jefferson plays and maybe the line moves down to 3.5. But with or without him, I'm going to be on the Cyclones.
Same here. I want Jefferson out there, a guy that scores 17 points and gives you 7-8 rebounds. You definitely want him out there. I think the breakdown, and you could get right now if you shop around -178 on the money line. It's like -200 everywhere else. I just wanted to play Iowa State on the money line because if I lay the 4.5, I know how this goes. They're up 20 the entire game, and then there comes the run down the stretch. A meaningless 3 buries me, and they win by 4. But I think this is a terrible matchup for Tennessee. I might be on the trendy favorite here, but I do like Iowa State. Like you said, man, I just want to see where this closes, and I want to get the Jefferson news before I bet it. But I'm going to be on Iowa State. Opponents shoot less than 50% against them, and they're the better rebounding team. The thing that scares me is this run that Gillespie's on and the way that Tennessee's shooting the rock right now. If they go out there and they shoot 55% from the floor, we're both screwed. But I don't see it happening against, again, a defense that doesn't allow opponents to shoot 50% from the field. So I like the Cyclones here.
I mean, their defense, watching them just suffocate Kentucky was really impressive. So I'm with you. I like Iowa State in that game as well. Ryan, let me ask you, of all the hypothetical Elite Eight matchups that we could potentially get, because there's so many great Sweet 16 games, which means we're going to get some really good Elite Eight games. Hypothetically, if we could have any Elite Eight matchup, which would be the one that you would most want to see?
It's a really good question. Let me pull up my bracket. What would
I'll give you some time since I put you on the spot. I want to see round 4 of UConn and St. John's. Like that game would be the fact that St. John's is 1-2, UConn's 1-1. It's a trip to the Final Four, and both fan bases would just take over Verizon Center, Capital One. It would be unbelievable to watch. So I think, look, the winner of Houston, Illinois, like if it's Nebraska, like Nebraska and Houston, watching Nebraska's crowd travel to Houston to play Houston and Houston would be so great too. I think Arizona, Purdue would be an unbelievable game. Also, like, again, there are great potential matchups. I just think if we got St. John's UConn round 4 for a trip to the Final Four, that would be the one that I would sign up for the most.
I'll take Duke UConn too, just because, I mean, like, who would the general public cheer for in that spot? Now, I guess Duke is not as hateable anymore without okay, maybe you could say, but I don't know about that, man. I think people still hate Duke, and then everybody hates Hurley. It would be like in wrestling when you have 2 bad guys, 2 heels go against each other. It's like, who do you even cheer for?
It's true.
You said it, man. Arizona, Purdue. That would be the one that I would want to see, especially just because I do have the Purdue future, and that would be the matchup that would really scare me. This Arizona team, I heard a lot of people say, like, this is the year that they're getting to the championship game for Lloyd. Maybe. I don't know, man. I feel like something's missing, but I really do like this team. But I would love to see them go against Purdue. I don't think I could bet an under in that game. Usually as the tournament progresses and we get to the Elite Eight and the Final Four, I start looking at some lower scoring games, but I think that would be a higher scoring game. I would want to see where that total would close.
What's your Final Four right now as we have the Sweet 16? What's your projected four that you think we're getting?
So I'm going to stick with what I went with, man. I think I still got everybody in the Final Four at least. I got Duke over UConn. I got Illinois. I had them over Florida, but I'll just continue the train here with Illinois. So Duke, Illinois. I got Purdue over Arizona. And then I had Iowa State over Michigan.
Okay. Yeah, you're doing well.
Michigan, obviously, going against them is pretty scary. According to the Ken Pom numbers and everything, one of the best teams in college basketball history, I know. But I like Iowa State. So, yeah, Iowa State, Purdue, Illinois, and Duke for me.
Yeah, I would be with Duke, Illinois, Arizona with you, and then I think I'd go Michigan over Iowa State. It would be a great game. I hope Jefferson plays if they match up. But I would like Michigan in that game. But that would be a fun one to watch. All right, Ryan. So as we wrap it up here, we've gone over all the Sweet 16 games. What are your favorite bets for Thursday and Friday?
Going to lay it with Purdue. I actually laid it with Purdue. That was the first bet, man. I really like the spot. I think they're the better team. I know this has been a magical run here for Texas, but I think it comes to an end. I didn't agree with the preseason hype or prices, I should say, with Purdue, but I think they take care of business. I have them going to the Final Four. I like Arizona to beat Arkansas. I haven't bet the 8.5 yet. I like Nebraska over Iowa. I'm looking at a money line price right now, -120. Not bad for Nebraska. I think they're the better team. Yeah. And I'm with you. I like Illinois against Houston. Shop around, look for the best price, of course, because I'm looking at it right now. There's 2.5s out there. I want a 3 or 3.5 if I'm betting the Illini. Although I do think that they're live in that one. So as far as my favorite bets, I'll go Illinois +3, and I like Purdue. I bet it at 8. You could get 7.5, so you could get a better number than I got.
Love it. I think Purdue, Texas, and Duke St. John's are really the only games that I'm passing on. I like Nebraska money line. I like Arkansas plus the points. I like Illinois plus the points. I'll take some money line as well. I'll lay it with Michigan 10.5. I might take an under in that game as well, even though it's come down a couple of points. I'll take UConn on the money line, and Iowa State. I like them laying the points as well. I think I'll probably end up staying away from that Texas-Purdue game. Maybe if we get a good live opportunity, I'll jump in, but I think I'll just sit back and watch that one. Duke and St. John's, talking about that game with you, because of the hot starts that St. John's has gotten off to, I'm just hoping that they continue that. They get up like 10-2, 14-5, and we get Duke on a cheap money line price, and we're able to bet the Blue Devils at a cheap number. I do think they win that game, but it's going to be close. I am really interested to see how they handle that full court press without Caleb Foster.
Yeah, that's what concerns me, man. But I'm too locked in on Duke right now, and I really like this team. Love Boozer, so I'm going to continue to bet them. I stayed away, obviously, round one. Wish I would have faded them. I thought Shire got outcoached also in the opening round. Not so much against TCU. I laid it with Duke because I thought TCU was just a little too popular, and I figured this is the wake-up call. That's what I'm hoping for here for Duke, man, because I do think, obviously, they're the more talented team, even with the injury. I hope that round one, when they were, 32-point favorites, and they could have lost that game outright, I'm hoping that was their wake-up call. So I like them, but I can't wait to watch them go against this St. John's team. And again, I wouldn't be surprised. Right now, moving forward, nothing would surprise me anymore, except for Iowa making a run here to the championship game.
Yeah. For Nathan Horvat, baby. He'll be cheering hard for those Hawkeyes. That'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait. Sweet 16 gets going Thursday and Friday. I'm sure we'll do another pod at some point throughout the next couple of weeks, obviously previewing the Final Four when we get that. So make sure you stick around. GameDay Garage. For Ryan Horvat, I'm PJ Glasser. This has been The Quad. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Enjoy the games Thursday and Friday, and we'll see you again soon.